Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Ladies, understand something. The top end of a woman's weight is 145 pounds. Okay. My mother's 5'9", and she was 145 pounds until she was 50. That's the top end of your weight, because there should be about a 40-pound difference between you and men.
Basically, if the guy is rich, what ends up happening is the lawyer contacts the person and be like, hey, you know, your name gonna be all in the paper, so you might as well just settle out of court.
I can recognize talent. Even if I don't agree with the politics, a lot of the politics that was underlying in the show and some of the sentiments he was trying to share, I recognize artistry when an artist is present.
Yes, this is the definition of absolutely cooked. We'll never go back and take a look at her bad decision and take accountability for any of that.
Because there is powerful people in the industry, somehow there is a different law that applies to them. And I agree with that assessment.
What up? What up? What up? What up? Peace and blessings, man. It's hump day, man. Wednesday, Thursday right around the corner. I know y'all excited. I know you tired. I know you irritated. Once you get to Wednesday is like, oh my fucking goodness, man. If they don't get me the hell up out of this place, I don't know what I'm going to do. By Thursday, you're just starting to feel a little bit better because Friday's right there. But Wednesday, oh yeah, you done already had it up to here. I appreciate y'all for tapping in with us, though. I got Sydney in the building. Shout outs to my writers, my poets, my content creators. I always give flowers out where flowers are due. The supporters, the commenters, the people who repost and share and like and engage. I thank you all. This segment specifically is dedicated to science and all related. That being said, if you're here to learn something, or maybe you need a change of pace, you get tired of discussing the same things over and over on your daily basis, this is the perfect time to be tuned in with us. This sister right here is pretty good at what she does, and it's a privilege to have her here. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to bring her up. I'm gonna let her do her thing. We're gonna chop it up. And if you have any questions, any comments, leave a message, an email, hit me up on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble, IG. I'm on everything. I'm live on everything. I stream on everything every single day of the week. I don't take days off. I'm constantly working. You'll never see a dull day over here. So, with that being said, let's bring up the lady of the hour, Sydney Linguist. Are you in the building?
Hello. How are you? She's smiley today.
What's up? I'm good. Feeling
How's
great. Feeling
the?
great. Feeling great. What's the
Oh,
word?
now you're
What's the
crying.
word?
Why are you crying now?
We good over here on this side of the internet. No complaints. Just another day in the laboratory. I'm constantly right here. I'm always at this computer from the minute I get out of the bed until the minute I go to bed. I'm right here. So it's been pretty productive. I have no complaints. God woke me up this morning. He allowed me to see another day. I have this platform where we can just talk about different things that's going on in the world with adults, not children. I'm very pleased. And I had a stream earlier, which is pretty good. So I think today was nice, man. I
She was all happy, and now she's being grumpy for some reason.
for the people who are watching, I want you to know that every Wednesday is time related. It's about anything that has something with the environment, et cetera, et cetera. What was you about to say?
Oh, I was like, of course, right when I start the show, she goes from being all smiley and happy to being grumpy.
Just like the weather, it's unpredictable. You never know what you're going to get. I still think it's wintertime, to be honest with you, even though it's warming up. I don't trust it. I still and a jacket outside. I'm not trying to get sick. I can't afford to get sick right now. So you got to work with what you got.
Yeah, that's
Just so y'all know,
true. Oops, sorry.
we had a conversation yesterday, or was it the day before? It was probably Tuesday's show. Yeah, it was definitely Tuesday's show. And it was brought to my attention to maybe talk about overconsumption and waste and things of that nature. You know, how we just throw shit on the ground. We don't really recycle. Um, our neighborhoods are trash, for real, for real. We don't really care about where we put or dispose of any of our stuff. We just kind of dispense it as we please and go on with the rest of our life, not really knowing that these things really affect us in the grand scheme of things. Are you clear? Go.
I'm good.
Yes.
Okay. I picked this topic
to my attention. I wanted you.
Oh wow, there's a lag for some reason. I'm guessing it has something to do with the I've heard the solar flare and what's happening has been affecting like radio transmissions. So I'm guessing that's what this is, but I don't really know. It seems like there's a delay of probably 10 seconds, 20 seconds in the sound versus what I'm seeing. So I apologize if I accidentally overlay what you're saying or like when you're talking. I was just gonna say for overconsumption, I picked this topic because it's a really big issue that I see a lot of people talking about it on YouTube. There's a lot of what do you call it? Influencers, YouTubers showing compilations of people that are over consuming. But I think there's still a large disconnect between what society is doing and the understanding of the damage that it actually causes. Because we as a culture overconsume massively, way more than this planet can support. I don't know what the current, like, this year's statistics are, but I know from the last couple years, we have, by the, I believe, March or April, or maybe even January, we go through all of the resources available on Earth. And so basically, by the time we're getting through the rest of the year, we're using the resources of future people. And we currently consume about 10 Earth's worth of resources. Obviously, that is a huge issue because we're using our resources much faster than they're able to regenerate. So it's a big issue that we really need to talk about. So I thought it would be interesting. It also relates to influencers because a lot of them, influencers, celebrities, are some of the worst offenders. And I mean, honestly, it's just kind of a crazy topic to talk about because of how insane consumerism has gotten today. I mean, we see it all over the place where people have like literally walls of purses or a whole bedroom dedicated just to clothing, or they have like 300 years worth of makeup that, like, when are you going to use it? It's going to expire in 6 months. I'm like, you have every single color in this entire line of makeup. How are you going to finish using them all when it expires at the end of the year? People are just showing so many addictive behaviors, and a lot of it is within shopping. I mean, we see the debt is the debt has skyrocketed in the last 15 to 25 years. I believe on average, most people are over $50,000 in debt or more. And we, as a society, don't have our priorities straight. We don't, this is very clearly a symptom of us not knowing our place in the world. We don't have real goals. We don't have real connections. We don't have real meaning to our lives, which is why we're investing all of our money into buying the life we think we should have. And yeah, so we really need to talk more about this issue because of the impact that it has on our mental health, on our planet, on the system. It funds the system that we're experiencing today. So it's really important for us to have a discussion about this.
Where do we go first? And do we talk about overly purchasing clothes for ridiculous amounts of prices? The threads and the material. I'm just throwing out, you know, the random things that we are addicted to. Hair, makeup. And I'm still stuck on this one with someone saying it. I don't know how true this is. Somebody tell me if this is right or wrong. I did a reaction to it, and someone was saying that these women who are putting this fake hair in their head, they're actually wearing the hair of deceased people. So that alone to me is freaky. It's scary. It's weird. I don't know how I feel about that. It's weird. You're putting, if this is true, you're putting deceased people's hair, incorporating it into your hair, let alone the perfume, the material that goes into making the shoes, buying jackets and coats and Louis Vuitton bags every other year, the Gucci. We haven't even gone into food, so I'm just throwing stuff out there. How do you? I mean, where do you want to start with this one? Because I mean, I don't want to go and skip stuff. I just want to kind of catalog it piece by piece.
I'm totally fine exploring, because this is a very big issue. There's definitely a lot of facets. This could be a multi-episode discussion. There's a lot to this. Do you want to talk about clothes first, since it seems like you're interested in that? Let's see.
Yeah, we can do that.
One of the interesting things about clothing is it actually produces quite a lot of the global emissions. It produces about 10% of the global emissions into the atmosphere, which is pretty crazy to think about. Like, your clothing are producing carbon dioxide and methane and all sorts of other chemicals being released to the air just from sitting in the sun, being washed over with the rain. So I'm like, imagine what it's doing to your body if it's breaking down like that, and releasing gases just from being in the sunlight. And also because most of this stuff is made out of plastic these days. Like, you're very, very, very rarely going to find 100% cotton, 100% wool, 100%, like, you usually have to pay up for it. And usually there's still like elastane holding it together, or like viscose or whatever, like other manufactured materials holding those pieces together. But clothing waste is a huge issue. We produce about 92 million tons of textile waste every single year. It's about the equivalent of one truck of clothing into every dump in the world every second, which is, again, insane to think about. We also have, besides the emissions standpoint, the plastics is also an issue, because, as I mentioned, most clothes are made of plastic. And so you have these massive, massive quantities of plastic cloth sitting on the ground out in nature, or in covered warehouses sometimes, but most of the time it's outdoors, touching the rain, the rivers, the land, and it breaks down into microplastics. And so let me see the statistic. Microplastics are basically, unlike organic substances like food and organic matter, things that come off of living things, which break down in a matter of days to years, depending on which type of material, bone, tissue, whatnot. Microplastics are formed because plastic is inorganic, and so it cannot break down into its components, because a lot of its components are chemically combined, and you can't break down a lot of chemically combined materials with just sun and water, because the bonds are too strong to be broken by just like physical processes. And so microplastics instead turn into tiny like hairs, basically hairs of plastic, tiny microscopic pebbles and tiny little like dust particles, but made of plastic. And that is released out into the environment. It's released into the air, the water, the soil. I think we've covered at least microplastics to a small degree on here before, but just to remind you guys, they've found plastic in our cells. They found it in the bodies of fetuses. They found it in the bodies of fish. They found it in the cells of plants. They found it in the ocean, in the soil, and pretty much every living thing that exists, even cultures that are separated from modern society. We all have microplastics inside our body, and microplastics are quite hazardous to have inside our bodies, because plastics love to connect up with other things that are dangerous. Microplastics, or plastic in general, is kind of like a sponge, where it likes to absorb other things, toxins and whatnot. And so if you have microplastics in your body, it'll hold on to the to the toxins that it comes into contact with, and it'll literally be just like a floating piece of toxin throughout your body. But then multiply that by thousands, millions of pieces. It also can, because it's inorganic, it can't break down, so it can increase your risk of having cancer, having clots, having malfunctions of microtubules in your body. Our smallest vessels and siphoning, like transport parts of our bodies, the networks throughout our bodies can get blocked by pieces of these plastics. And so they can cause a lot of health harm to us. Not only that, but as I probably said in the last time we were talking about this, it causes a great deal of harm to animals, particularly ocean animals, feeders that open their mouth to engulf their food. They are highly, highly susceptible to plastic pollution because they are indiscriminate feeders. So they basically open their mouth and close their mouth, and whatever's in their mouth is getting eaten. And so if you have the inability to empty your mouth and you open your mouth and you swallow a bunch of plastic bags, you're eating plastic bags, and there's nothing you can do about it. And so a lot of animals like whales, dolphins, a lot of different types of fish, jellyfish, sea turtles, these types of creatures are consuming plastic on a regular basis, and they are dying from them. A lot of beached whales that we hear about in the news today are beached because their bodies were filled with trash. A lot of animals have suffocated on them, have been strangled, as I said, have been starved to death because their stomach was so full of trash that they couldn't have any other food in their stomach anymore. And it has entangled on, as I said, like in organs. It has caused like internal damage. So plastic is a huge, huge component to this overconsumption issue. And it affects everything. Plastic in general is one of my most passionate issues because of how invisible it is. People don't talk about this. People greatly underestimate the level of issue, because when you talk about plastics with people, most people are like, oh yeah, plastic, or like water bottles, or like, this is plastic, how could this kill an animal? But if you like broke this up into chunks and then you fed it to something, that's basically what we're doing. So it's really interesting to put it into a perspective that people understand, because it's very different than what you imagine. Most people, when they think of plastic pollution, they just think of like a bunch of water bottles floating in the middle of the ocean. And so they're like, why don't you just go clean it up? But you can't, because if most of the plastic is smaller than the eye can even see, how are we supposed to filter that out? Especially when it becomes the size of most of the living things in the ocean. Most of the living things in the ocean are microscopic. The bottom of the food chain are plants and animals. Like we've all seen SpongeBob. Plankton is the animal version of a microscopic creature. There's phytoplankton and there's phytoplankton and zooplankton. Zooplankton are the animal versions, and phytoplankton are the plant versions. So you have microscopic plants and microscopic animals, and then as you go up in the food chain, they just get bigger and bigger, but the whole situation never changes. It's always plants and animals. We have plastic that is at the size of pretty much every single level of the food chain, and it's affecting every single animal on the food chain. So this is, again, a huge, huge problem. Not only are the ocean animals affected, but birds all over the world are being affected. Even some wildlife animals on land have been affected. In certain countries where there's a greater human to wildlife interface, you'll find monkeys that will dig through trash cans and eat human trash instead of eating the foods that they naturally eat. You'll find elephants doing the same thing. You'll find wild dogs doing the same things, raccoons, possums. There's a great number of animals now that take advantage of human food and no longer seek out their own natural sources of food, because it's just so much easier to pull McDonald's bags out of the trash can than to go to the river and try and wait for 4 hours to find a single fish. Because we've basically like destroyed everything, and then the only thing we have available is trash, is garbage. So we're really having an impact on the entire system that we rely on. It's kind of crazy to me that I know why all these companies that like billion-dollar companies love plastic, because you either made the plastic and you're a petroleum company, or you use the plastic and you're a food, toy, entertainment, insert big economy category. So there's it's hard to do anything, because all these big businesses that are so famous, Coca-Cola and Pepsi and all those people, they will sue you up the river if you try and fight against what they've created, because they either will deny it, they'll say it's not real, they'll sue you. So it's an uphill battle to even solve this problem. So honestly, at this point, the only thing that we really can do is raise awareness, so people stop buying these things, stop promoting these companies that are willing to produce clothing at a rate and in a manner that is dangerous to the workers, to the wearers, to the people that or to the animals that are exposed to it after we're done with it. If we want to create a better, healthier planet, we're going to have to start relying more on materials that do actually break down, that will potentially result in a loss of the cultural cycle that we have. Personally, I don't see that as a bad thing, but a lot of people would be against it because it would challenge accessibility. It would bring the price of clothing up. We'd go more to a pre-1900s style of life where like you have like 3 outfits because everything's way too expensive. But it kind of sucks because we're between a rock and a hard place. We can either pick to have our planet, or we can pick to have convenience, and that's kind of where the crossroads where we're at right now, where we're picking between what we really, really want and what's nice and what's easy, between a future that we don't even know if we want to see.
You know, buying an outfit every week and going online and shopping, trying to fit in and stay up to standards. Everybody else that says, well, if you dress this way, then I can look at you and accept you because you wear what I like. You wear the type of shoes that I would want my wife to wear, or you wear the type of cologne that I would like my husband to wear. If you are constantly wearing the same thing every day, then you're lame, you're corny. I can't get with nobody who dresses with dresses from Payless. I can't deal with somebody who is frugal with money. I can't deal with somebody who wears the same necklace. Your chain ain't real. It has to be diamond tested and officially declared to be legitimate. If it ain't solid, if it ain't something that is popular by demand and people can repost and share and converse about it and celebrate you over something that you're only going to wear for one day, then it just don't matter. I don't think it's really understand or really care about their greed and about understanding that their habits are very dangerous to the livelihoods of millions of people, just because you're not even considering the fact that the stuff that is being used to make the material is harming us, and is harming the food that we consume, and the food that we consume is being depleted by us, and by us depleting the food that's being eaten, our food don't have anything to eat, because we are pretty much extracting all of it. We're just, like you said, we're just kind of destroying the environment slowly. And I don't see the same birds anymore. I see them, but it's not as frequent. Squirrels, but I don't see them as much. I see bees, but I don't see them as much. I'm wondering what this year is going to look like, what the weather is going to look like, how the insects are going to be, this year. But I don't think people really care too much about it. It really does seem like it's more about convenience. Give me. Let me go directly into my phone. Let me go to my credit card. Let me go to my Cash App, my Zelle, my Venmo, and let me just order everything. You don't care about the smoke that is being emitted into the air. You don't care about the material that is used to make the stuff. You think you're just throwing on clothes and it doesn't really bother you. But have you ever noticed or ever heard someone say, "Oh, my skin is itching. I think I'm allergic to this fabric," or I'm allergic to this? Y'all have never experienced that before. A lot of this stuff has chemicals and things in it that you wouldn't even realize is causing you cancers, giving you migraines, getting you sick, but you still want to wear it. You still want to look good and fashionable and trending. And that's cool. No one's saying that you ain't supposed to look presentable when you leave out, but take into consideration the requirements that come with living at such a high experience with all of this stuff. There was one point in time where I was under the impression that crabs were not as they weren't as accessible as they once were. It was getting a little depleted, especially king crabs, because a lot of people love king crabs. And I mean, what do you expect? This is a cuisine that is desired highly. Every year, people want crabs. There's something that your heart desires so much that they have to continuously be out there on the ocean fishing for this stuff, going overseas for this stuff, or requesting extra special attention for it. What happens when you eat all of the fish? You eat every single thing that you are used to or accustomed to getting so frequently. What happens when it's all gone? You don't have them reproducing. You don't have.
That is one of the big scientific questions. There's a lot of organizations that have dedicated a lot of research to trying to find alternative sources of food. There's people that are trying to make food supplements out of bugs, out of plant waste, out of banana peels, out of you name it. There's so many different startups that are dedicated to like finding the next alternative food source, turning leather into edible food, and all this other crazy stuff. But when it comes down to it, if we killed off a critical component of the food chain, I mean, truthfully, if we killed off even half the fish on this planet, that would throw the biodiversity of this planet into mayhem we have never seen on Earth. The thing that people don't realize is, I think we've talked about it on the mass extinction episode. The past mass extinctions that are known are, they wiped out, one of them wiped out 97%, one wiped out 96%, one wiped out 99% of life, and dinosaurs wiped out about 66% of life. We currently are on track to destroy about 90% of species on this planet. So we are worse. We are creating a death event worse than what the dinosaurs experienced as a result of a giant asteroid that's 10 miles wide hitting the side of our planet. And we have done that damage in 500 years. Arguably longer. But the most damage that we have done for sure, 1850 and up. Like for a fact, that is when our, like once technology expansion picked up, like once coal factories had been established and we started using industry, we, at a rapid pace, we wiped out trees, we wiped out fish, we wiped out animals, birds, everything. And we honestly aren't far off from a scenario where we lose all of something. I don't think we're going to lose all the fish because we do have a greater diversity of fairly resilient habitat. So like fish to me seem to be more resilient at the moment than birds. But truthfully, with how the climate is changing, how fast the temperatures are rising, I am also losing. I'm gaining a little bit of fear for the ocean as well. The ocean at this point has absorbed all the carbon dioxide that it can. So now we're going to see the atmosphere start rising in temperature extremely rapidly. Which is not going to be good for us because we won't have time to adapt to the changes that we're going to be seeing. But that type of change in temperature would be enough to impact food types of all kinds across the globe. It would affect everything from livestock to fish to crops. So I anticipate that we will know the answer within these next couple decades. We're going to find out what's going to happen if we run out of food because a lot of places in the world are going to run out of food. I don't think, at least I hope that the United States won't be as susceptible as other parts of the world, but we will definitely be touched by this food crisis. It's not just overconsumption that is affecting their numbers, but it is a huge component. Because as you're saying, they hunt all day in, day out. Back when we were more nature oriented, like native practices, and were more honed in on the rhythms of the planet, we did hunt by season. We would only hunt them at certain times a year, and then at other times a year we'd hunt different crops. Obviously we don't do that now. We just kill everything indiscriminately, grow everything whenever we can. so we don't really have that buffer to allow them a chance to revive themselves. And so that's another reason why overconsumption is such a big deal, because we are literally just we're just killing anything that we can find at this point. And that doesn't give them a chance to reproduce and do all of the things that they need to allow their populations to rebound. We have to pause a lot of our hunting practices to allow animals a chance to breed back to their previous numbers. Like, it is okay to hunt certain numbers of animals. There is a way to feed off of a population of creatures without, or plants, without annihilating the quantity that exists there naturally. But you have it's very delicate. And then the other problem is you can maintain a balance where you're not taking more than can regrow. But if you do get to the point where you accidentally wipe out everything that was there, what can live there after that space has been decimated is reduced. You'll never be able to get back up to the numbers that were previously able to be supported by those regions. They found this many, many times in various different situations, most famously in Yosemite. They had very, very liberal hunting practices in the 1930s and prior. And so they basically completely wiped out the gray wolf from Yellowstone and the surrounding areas of the park. And because that was the main predator for that entire region, it allowed the deer and elk to explode. And by them exploding, they ate all the grassland, and so the bison ran out of things to eat, and so they left. And because there was nothing, because they were trampling the rivers got wider, the beavers left, the plants disappeared because the beavers weren't helping to maintain the rivers got shallower, the fish weren't surviving. So removing one single species can cause a huge system collapse. And we luckily did a rehabilitation program, and by the 70s, I believe, we had released wolves back into Yellowstone, and the ecosystem is back to what it kind of used to be. There's all the animals that were there before have returned, but it's still not in the quantities that they used to be, because once you have a collapse, the amount that you can support has been diminished because a large amount of the productive load has been destroyed. And so that's kind of a contributing factor to this problem, where we're kind of at the point where we've collapsed we have or are about to collapse a lot of these food systems. And if we do collapse them, it's a bit too late for us to bring them back up to what they used to be. We'll have to kind of adjust to a new lower level of output, and I don't think we are prepared for that. I think other places will be more resilient, but the United States will definitely, the EU, Australia, I think a lot of the westernized cultures will struggle fairly significantly with the changes in access, because really the people that are close to the edge have already been dealing with having nothing and having to get by with what they can. It's the people that are used to having everything all the time that are going to struggle the most when they realize that it doesn't matter how much money you have, you're still not going to be able to buy a strawberry or a salmon or whatever, because it doesn't exist. You can't buy it into existence once it's gone. So it'll really be dependent on how things collapse. If it's a slow transition, which I put very little faith in it being a slow transition. Usually it's a domino type impact where it's one thing, then another thing, then a bunch of other things, and then a bunch of other things. So it's going to be a cascading type issue, I imagine. My guess is we'll probably start to feel it by the 30s and 40s. But based on the climate, in social climate, I do wonder if situations in the world are going to speed things up a bit.
I'm not really too confident in our concern for the planet. I don't really. There's people out there that really care about nature. Let me ask. Well, it's a rhetorical, but you can answer this one too. How often do you scroll up and down your social media timeline and you see someone saying, we need to protect our rainforest. We need to stop polluting the streets. We need to stop throwing our trash on the side of the road, putting it in the rivers. Stop spending so much money on these name brands. We need to fight for our environment. We need to clean the air up. How often do you see that? Because I can tell you right now, I can go on here right now to Twitter, and I can scroll down this entire timeline. There's not a single person speaking about pollution or anything like that. Love is you recognize the shape of yours without needing. Distance gets rid of a lot of fake people. If you promise to stay, I promise to never leave. There's a bunch of people just talking about love, relationships, betrayal, etc., etc. No one is really showing any type of concern for the conditions of the earth. And the earth is what supplies us with everything that we have. You would think that we would at least show a little more respect for it. But we've gotten greedy, and we've gotten fat, and we've gotten more greedy, and
Not to mention, it's
to
doing
be honest with you,
number.
I don't see it getting any better anyway.
Oh yeah, I don't either. Especially as I was gonna say, like, it's also not just affecting our planet, but it's affecting our mental health, our physical health. Like you were saying, like, we've gotten lazy, we've gotten fat, we've gotten like, I'm just gonna sit on my couch and stuff my face, and I'm not gonna hang out with people because I'd rather sit at home with my pie and tub of ice cream and jug of soda and whatever. Like, we cut ourselves off using our stuff. I was just working on my book earlier, and one of my, let me find it, one of my short little poems I found. I was like, oh, I have to read this at some point. It's called Clarity. Oh, clutter dear, you keep me here, deep, lost in these thoughts, pondering what's lost, how I oughta, what I bought, for credit regrets. What a fool, I forgot. Plastic memories don't inspire, don't smile. Though I act as though shameful shifting could replace the sway of a waltz, I sit replacing love with boxed up connections, pillows making partners in bed, my sallow soul dusting in the attic, wasted, another if I missed, for alone in assemblage is still only alone. And I wrote that to touch on that fact that people literally choose to replace people with stuff, where they'd rather sit home and open Amazon boxes than hang out with their friend for a couple hours and just have a chat. We've I mean, we see it on YouTube with people like, oh, I did a $1,000 Temu haul. Watch this an hour and 30-minute video with me as I open all of these shitty packages full of crappy stuff that you're probably not even gonna use. Like, they buy stuff just for the sake of buying stuff. The number of influencers that I see, they're like, I just bought this on Amazon. It's literally like the greatest thing I've ever seen. Like, my friend has one and her neighbor has one, and like their life is like totally different. So I just like, I love the purple color, so I just like, I had to get one for myself. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you wasting your time like this? And it's turned into a cult where they've combined all of these different elements to these like creepy, like, look at this item, look at it, listen to it. It sounds so nice. It fits on my desk. You need to buy it. We all need to buy it. Like, God, we're all like Gollum with the ring. Look at this Amazon purchase. Like,
yeah, that's a fact, man. Our obsession with, you don't even really want it for real. I've been minding my business, and then a commercial will come on, or an ad will come on, and they'll start talking about something this randomly. I'm like, I wasn't even thinking about this before, but it does kind of sound interesting. Now I want it. And then you just end up spending $20 on some shit that you didn't need in the first place. It's absolutely wild to think that we are really that shallow, for real. And to add on to that little that reenactment, they multitask too. Because while they showcasing and trying to promote products, they'll be doing their makeup at the same time. They'll give you a little twerk in between the video and all that shit. Who cares about nature though? Who cares that the grass is turning brown and the trees aren't producing the oxygen that we need to breathe? There's nothing stopping the sun from roasting our ass if there's no trees on our street, or because for the most part, like, the cities don't really have trees like that. They plant them. They're not as like in abundance as they are in the neighborhoods. So you got nothing but traffic and cars and engines and smoke and gas all day. And you're wearing $200 pair of pants and $300 pair of shirts and bras with metal that could really easily seep into your skin if you like penetrate it at all, and then maybe you might end up getting some type of anything from what you're wearing, and you don't know where it came from, why you're breaking out, and why you're turning into a mutant and all this shit. But you're just so obsessed.
Same with like face products and stuff. People are like putting creams and sprays and powders and whatever, and they're like, I have an autoimmune disorder and I don't know where it came from. I'm like, you're literally putting like 27 different vegetables and fruits on your body. How do you, like, of course your body's having a reaction. It's like covered in everything. It's covered in a whole forest. I'm like, of course it's upset. But they, like, I've watched these videos of women showing off all, like, my 14-step makeup routine, and they're putting on like a cream and then they wash it off, and then another cream, they wash it off, and then the soap, and then they wash it off, and then this, and then they wash it off, and then the thing, and it stays there for a bit. And like, as they're doing this, their face is getting redder and more irritated and slightly puffy. And I'm like, do you not feel that? Like, your face looks angry. why do you keep putting more stuff on it? Your face does not seem to be liking all the stuff that you're putting on your face. And then afterwards, they're like, look how beautiful I look. I'm like, you look sunburned. I'm like, that is like, how does that feel comfortable? I don't understand how you, and then also, I have never been one that can spend money on something that's going to be gone that I use up. Like if I use up the thing and it either gets consumed or thrown away over the process of me using it, I'm not going to go spend an arm and a leg on it. And so if I'm going to be putting powder on my face throughout the day, I'm not spending $150 on a single little thing. Like that is ridiculous. I would prefer just not to use it. But if I absolutely had to have it, I would get the cheapest basic ingredient I could get without all the other added stuff in it. But we've just been getting more and more, like, you need a facial moisturizer and a toner and an astringent and a beautifier and a deep I don't even know. They have like thousands. You need like a book, a vocabulary book with all the different things that you need to put on your face and when they go on and in what order. It's just so complicated. And then also the Stanley trend was the one that got me onto the like overconsumption watching, because I just couldn't believe people would be that obsessed over just stuff, physical objects. But like people would be fighting over the Stanley Cups in general because they're like, I have to have the Stanley Cup because it's so special, even though it's literally just a metal cup. I didn't actually buy it. I got it from somebody. But people were going out and buying the like 4, 5, 6 of them and then turning around and reselling them on eBay or wherever for like $200, $300, even though they're originally $50. And people would buy it. And not only that, but they also have like a cap decoration, and then they have you can get individual like matching straws, and then the straws have a cover, and then you can get a backpack that your cup can wear, so then you can put your hand sanitizer in the backpack, and then there's like a chapstick holder that can like snap onto the handle, and then you also have like a keys holder that goes around the thing, and so they're like, yeah, you can. Oh, and then there's also like a snack thing that you can top, that you can have your snacks on top of your drink, and people are using them in place of an actual backpack, and I can't I'm like, it's called a bag. It's called a bag. You don't need a cup for this.
Right. I read a post earlier. You find some gems eventually. And it said that God knew, and I'm paraphrasing, it said God knew that we were going to be addicted to sugar. That's why fruit exists. And I'm thinking to myself, fruit is actually nature's candy. Like apples, oranges, mangoes. It's healthy, but it also has its own unique flavor to it. It's sweet. It's not like it's just regular water. Imagine eating an apple that tastes like water. You're not going to want it. They have their own unique flavors, and you know, and it's like, damn, when you think about it, we sitting up here eating cookies and all this shit. That shit is raising our blood pressure, is giving us diabetes and this, that, and the third. And when you really think about it, it's manufactured. There's ingredients that are involved in creating these cookies, that vanilla, that chocolate, that nutmeg, all that. That's stuff that is being engineered. But this is natural. It has flavor, it tastes good, and it's from the earth. it doesn't have any, unless you're crop dusting and spraying shit. This is as natural of candy that you could get. But we rarely appreciate that. You know, I think that's another thing to acknowledge here too. All of the sugar that we put in our body, and like this week, I'm making it my business to be more health conscious with what I'm consuming. I'm gonna try my best not to mess with too much fried stuff. I'm gonna get more fruit in here. I'm gonna get more salads in here, and I'm gonna just do it that way, because honestly, the sugar, too much of it gives you a headache. It gives you sugar rushes. It makes you miserable. It alters your mood when you don't have it. That's why I've never drank coffee before. I've seen people that was deprived of coffee, they turn into some gargoyles. Like legitimately, they are not people you want to be around if they don't have their coffee in the morning. Some people drink coffee from the morning to the end of their shift. I'm like, yo, I'm glad I never got hooked on this. So that's just my 2 cents. I'm about to cut back on the sugar. I'm the first person to tell you I love chocolate. I love Snickers, ice creams, and all that shit. But I know it ain't really doing me no good, so I'm gonna have to start laying off of it and get back to. I think that would help cut back some too. Going back to the nature of this will take care of us more than the manufactured stuff is. When you really think about it, why would you want anything manufactured to consume in your body? That's one of the reasons why I quit smoking. But I digress.
At the time, it was mostly because of ease and access. When they first started mass manufacturing things, it was so the average everyday person could afford to buy the thing, could have access to whatever thing it was. Today, it's just an opportunity for the people that own the factories to get rich, because they know that we have no other ways of getting these things. Most people don't have gardens. Most people don't know how to make their own clothes. Most people don't know how to make their kids' toys or bed sheets or mattresses, or people barely know how to make a sandwich today. So most people don't know how to do anything. And so now it's just an opportunity for companies to use us, basically, use our wallets, because we are so helpless that we have to rely on them to buy everything. So that's mostly why these systems still exist as they are today. Also, humans, unfortunately, are a little bit predisposed to being lazy. So it's not helpful that we've created a world that rewards that laziness. So we're basically seeing the repercussions of laziness as well, because, really, climate change is caused by our laziness, because we're using machines to complete work that our future selves didn't want to have to do by themselves. So we're experiencing the consequences because we've basically shoved 300, 400, 500 years of progress into 100 years. And so now we're getting to see the repercussions of that kind of pile up of emissions and pollution. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, we should totally do another episode just on sugar, because sugar is its own whole story. Like, sugar and plastic are kind of up there in terms of being humans' best friends / worst enemies, because sugar has done a lot for us throughout history in terms of what it's allowed us to produce. Sugar has helped us produce antibiotics. Sugar has helped us produce better food preservation methods. It's enabled us to produce higher calorie foods, which enables us to be more productive in other areas because then we don't have to spend all of our time hunting. Because when you're living a hunter-gatherer life, most of your energy was spent getting the food in the first place. But sugar allowed us to get ahead of that, and so we were able to be fed without having to exert all of our energy getting fed. But obviously, as I said, we're living in a time of laziness and high consumption, and so like plastic, sugar has become a vice of its own, where it's hard to separate ourselves from it. It's highly, highly, highly addictive. And it comes with a wide variety of issues. So we can definitely cover that next week if you want to, because that's another one of my long tangent spiels that I like to go on. Plastic is another one of my nemesises.
We'll jot that one down for sure. Absolutely. Is there anything that you think before we kind of conclude? Is there anything that wasn't mentioned here that we could mention before we head out? Anything that we kind of didn't really touch on too much?
I know we'll touch on this topic again because this has always been this is a huge component of an environmentally friendly world. Our consumption is a massive, massive factor in our ability to get along with the earth. So I'll definitely be revisiting this topic, but just in the sense of plastic pollution and garbage and stuff like that, what you can do. It is sadly a uphill battle. It will be very challenging, and it's sadly the word I would use is it's basically impossible to reverse the damage that we've done. We're basically just going to have to live with it until the earth itself is able to process it out of the system. Hopefully, we're alive long enough to see that happen. But in the meantime, we still want to reduce as much waste as we can. Currently, some of the best ways, or some of the best packaging to buy your foods in are tin, aluminum is cans are infinitely recyclable. Metals can be recycled. Just make sure that when you recycle your cans, you take off the paper wrapper and then wash it out, because if there's food inside the cans, they don't recycle the cans. I'll have to go over stuff about recycling because there's a lot of stuff within that. There's a lot regarding waste that a lot of people don't know. But anyway, tin cans are infinitely recyclable, so they're one of the best things that you can purchase your food in. Also, it reduces the chance of it like leaching into your food at high temperatures compared to plastic stuff, at least in the sense of like liquid foods. Hard foods, you don't have to worry as much since they're hard, so they're not going to be like pulling things from the containers. Cardboard, paper obviously are far better options than plastic. And then don't microwave plastic. Don't cook in Tupperware. Don't heat them up, because that's how you release the chemicals that are inside plastic. If you heat up anything that has plastic in it, it will release those fumes into the microwave, the air, the food, whatever it's touching. So do not heat up plastic. Do not use it to heat food up, or use it to microwave whatever. Even storing the hot food, you can cause it to melt or release into the food. And then try to reuse as much as you can. It's challenging at this point because we're kind of at a war between creating waste, creating water waste, and creating releasing chemicals and stuff like that. And so every single material has its ups and downs. Like wood and paper is no longer the best option because of how few trees there are left. But like metal is harder to come by, and so plastic is cheaper. So there's a lot of trade-offs between trash these days, and there really isn't one clear cut, this one's better than all the rest. Really, my motto in my household, the way I do it, the way I advise other people that ask me, I just try and reduce it wherever makes sense to you. So if you're somebody that doesn't even use paper plates, cool, no problem there. Like, you don't even have to think about it. But if you're going to Starbucks every day, like, switch it out for a metal straw instead of getting the plastic one. If you're somebody that like regularly eats meat, maybe like go to the butcher and get it wrapped up in paper rather than buying it in some plastic wrapped whatever in the frozen aisle. Just try and find easy switches that make life easier for you, but also reduce your own waste and impact. Really, the biggest piece of advice I have is take it slowly. Things like this, transitioning to become eco-friendly, transitioning to become more conscious of the things around you, it takes a lot of time. A lot of these influencers like to show, like, in 90 days, I changed up my whole life and I'm a whole different person. But it really does take time. So if you want to be better for the planet, start with very, very small and simple steps. Switch from paper napkins to cloth napkins and make the commitment to washing them. When you get used to that, then switch to a different material for your frozen foods or something. But yeah, make small steps in the directions that work for you, and those will make it more manageable for you to build on, and it'll make it more comfortable for you. That way you can start taking bigger steps as you see them come up. That's honestly what's worked best for me. And I've always said it's much, much better to take tiny steps than to take no steps at all. So if you really want to make a difference, the best thing that you can do is start. Don't feel bad if you feel like it's too small, that you're not making a difference. Every little thing does make a difference. As we can see with the plastic pollution epidemic in the first place, they're all tiny, tiny pieces of plastic, but together it makes a huge problem. The same thing happens with solutions. All of the solutions might be tiny, but putting all of those tiny solutions together will make one big solution that will eventually work. So that's really where we have to kind of guide ourselves towards, is making small decisions that make things better in the long run.
I'm guilty of using plastic utensils and things like that. So I know I got to cut back on it. It's a work in progress. At least I know, you know. I would try to keep that in mind when I go to fix things. I know I do. I know, and I have noticed that smell in the microwave from the plastic. Yeah, so I think a lot of good information was dropped here. I know this is going to be a reoccurring topic, and I appreciate you for taking time out of your evening to talk with all of us. I'm sure somebody got something out of this. I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody who tuned in tonight. Thank you. Again, if you want to stay in contact with us, you want to reach out to her, or you want to just make sure that you don't miss a stream, follow me on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all of those spots, man. It's not hard to miss because I'm always doing something. I'm always uploading. There's always something to watch that's worthwhile, you know. And this is another segment that I thought was important to have up here. An honor and privilege, Sydney. I hope and pray that you and everybody here enjoys the rest of your evening. And, good show. Do me a solid. Go ahead. Go ahead. Get your balls off before
I just want to say thank you guys for watching. If you want to see more of my my writing work, I post on All Poetry. I also post regularly on Blue Sky. Right now, it's mostly jokes about the United States and everything that's happening. But other than that, I'm here pretty much all week except for Thursdays. And if you want to hear any specific topics on Wednesdays, let me know, and I'm happy to cover anything that you guys are interested in learning about. As you can tell, I love learning with people. I love teaching people. I really love inspiring people to change the world for the better, to make the world a better place for everyone around them. So I always enjoy feedback from the community, and I always love contributing information to the community that people are interested in knowing. So yeah, if you ever have a burning desire to know, I would be absolutely happy to hold a discussion about anything.
And that being said, folks, this concludes tonight's show. Me and Jason will be back tomorrow. We're going to be talking about body language. Yeah, body language. It's going to be a goodie. If you have any topics that you would like us to discuss up here, any questions, anything that's going on in the community, or anything you got on your mind that you want to see brought to the panel, hit me up. We'll make it happen for you. I'll give you credit, shout you out, and all that. You want to join future panels, hit me up. We'll make it happen. This is all about collective community. Nobody is better than the other. Outside of that, man, Sydney, glad to have you up. Enjoy your evening. To the rest of you, I will see y'all later, if not sooner. We are out. Do me a solid before you go, please. It's pretty simple.
Push the goddamn button. Have a good night, guys.
We up out of here.